First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
Good evening and welcome to WFT News' First at 5. I'm Fareeha Abrar.
And I'm Francis Kapper. Thanks for joining us.
A man sentenced to life in prison in 1979 is dead after he was executed on death row last night. His name was Donald Dilbeck. He died by lethal injection.
About 60 people gathered to pray and sing in protest of Dilbeck's execution at the Florida State Prison in Rayford. The protest also attracted the attention of those who anticipated his long-awaited execution.
Prison in Rayford for the scheduled execution of Donald Dilbeck, a man convicted of heinous crimes.
The sentence of the state of Florida versus Donald Dilbeck was carried out at 6:13 p.m.
Many anti-death penalty groups attended the vigil, including Floridians for Alternatives to the Death Penalty, Our Lady of Lourdes, a church in Daytona Beach, and Death Penalty Action. Not everyone united in protest against the execution. In 1990, Dilbeck murdered a woman named Faye Van. She resisted his carjacking attempt. Officers found him after he crashed the vehicle. Van's family issued a written statement. 11,932 days ago, Donald Dilbeck brutally killed our mother. We were robbed of years of memories with her, and it has been very painful ever since. However, the execution has given us some closure. We are grateful to the governor for carrying out the sentence. Florida Department of Corrections spokesperson Michelle Glady summarized Dilbeck's final moments.
The execution went as scheduled and took place without incident. While there were family members there, no one wished to speak at the event this evening.
According to court records, when Dilbeck was 15, he stabbed a man after he was caught stealing a car radio. Then, he stole a vehicle and drove to Florida. There, he killed Lee County Deputy Sheriff Dwight Hall with the deputy's pistol. He was sentenced to life in prison in 1979. In 1990, he escaped prison. 2 days later, he murdered Faye. Dilbeck used his last words to criticize Governor Ron DeSantis. He said, "I know I hurt people when I was young, and I really messed up, but I know Ron DeSantis has done a lot worse." The sun set as Dilbeck was administered his lethal injection.
Because of the pandemic, and then prioritizing for hurricane responses, this was just the third execution under Governor Ron DeSantis. Historically, most two-term Florida governors end up ordering considerably more. Rick Scott set the record with 28 executions.
Some state lawmakers say Gainesville is so far in debt with GRU that some of the operations might need to be sold off. Ophelie Jacobson joins us live outside GRU with more on the scrutiny from a legislative audit. Ophelie, what's been going on?
Well, this is a place where a lot of people feel the pain of GRU bills, and it's a common feeling because the city-owned utility has sometimes the highest residential electric rates in the state. You may have walked behind the doors right behind me to get help paying a bill, but it was in Tallahassee yesterday where a few city leaders felt the pain of an angry audit committee. For more than 2 hours, the Joint Legislative Audit Committee grilled Gainesville officials about last year's audit, mostly focusing on GRU operations and related debt. The biomass plant saga is largely blamed for GRU reaching a whopping $1.7 billion in debt. The city bought out the plan at a premium to escape a lengthy contract of buying that power at high rates. The top Democrat on the committee called for bold business decisions.
I think you guys need to start shedding some assets that you're not good at. You guys got your hands in too many things. You're doing water, you're doing gas, you're doing sanitary, you're doing all of these things. And when they all sort of bundle up together and you're concentrating more on debt service than you are on operation and what's actually feasible and what's revenue generating, I think you should take a look at that. If it's just too expensive for you guys to be in the electric business, get out of it.
The senator asked Gainesville to come up with a bold plan before October 1st. The top Republican wants it sooner and warned the audit recommendations cannot be avoided.
Go back and make those bold moves, or we will take action. Now, what action? We will write letters to the governor, ask him to remove you from office, and put people in that will take the bold actions to save the GRU, to save the utility, and ultimately save the city.
Others said one bold move would be dramatically reducing the amount of money the city takes from GRU each year. Mayor Harvey Ward said Gainesville is trying to trim the next GRU transfer to $34 million, but several committee members said the city should raise taxes and cut jobs and services to dramatically lower or eliminate the yearly GRU transfer. Now, one thing we know for sure is that the audit is focusing a lot on what is going on here in Gainesville with GRU. One audit committee leader said that he would come to town if there are emergency public hearings about how to shake things up for the next budget year. Reporting live from GRU, Ophelie Jacobson, WUFT News.
Thank you, Ophelia. You know, it looks kind of hot out there.
I know. The sweat has been severe, and I've been cranking up the AC in my dorm all week.
Same here. And my utility bills have been feeling it for real. WFT's Shawn Humphrey joins us now with the weather forecast. And I need to know, how much hotter is it going to get this weekend?
Well, thankfully, it's not going to get that much hotter, but it will be just as hot as it's been today all weekend. Not much fluctuation in the temperature over much of next week, but I'll give you more of that in the full weather forecast. For now, if we take a look at our storm tracker, we'll see that it's dry, and that's part of why it's so hot outside right now. A high pressure system is in the area, bringing us sunny weather and dry weather. But if you take a look at this evening's forecast, oh, that's the live cam. I'm sorry about that, but it's okay. Sunny skies out there, cirrus clouds. You know cloud names, get to know them. Because cirrus clouds outside right now because of that high pressure. And back to the desk.
Thank you, Shawn. The Marion County Board of County Commissioners accepted a donation aimed at deterring crime in the area. WUFT's Chris Will was in Marion County all of today, and he has more on this special gift.
Security and a home. That's what will soon be here at Bellevue Sportsplex after a mobile home was donated to Marion County.
The home. It comes in all different shapes and sizes and sets in many different places, even the middle of the park. At least that's the goal.
So we will dedicate an area of the park. We'll put the mobile home in an area. We'll give them a yard and a place to park.
And it's all thanks to a single donation. An anonymous donor gifted a mobile home to the Friends of Marion County Parks and Recreation Foundation, who then gifted the residence to the county to serve as a home for law enforcement.
So across the park system, we have several places and parks where we have what we call on-site law enforcement presence.
Meaning people from agencies like the Marion County Sheriff's Office and even Florida Fish and Wildlife live in the park.
And having that law enforcement presence at a park is a great deterrent for crime.
Marion County will soon have 6 on-site residence programs spread across the county's parks, all the way south in Bellevue and up to Orange Lake. Marion County Parks and Rec Community Engagement Coordinator Sarah Lambert says the donation came as quite the shock.
So donations like this are fantastic. They allow the community to become more aware of the impact that this organization is providing.
She says the local nonprofit is important in volunteering and fundraising parks and rec projects. The group has raised nearly $147,000 for Parks and Rec. The latest donation was evaluated at $52,000.
County officials are currently taking appraisals for the movement of that home from its current location. I'm told that it will be here in Bellevue by the end of March. Reporting in Marion County, Chris Will, WFT News.
Thank you, Chris. Security is crucial, and it's intense for parents to ensure the safety of their kids. Today, a family in Hernando County is relieved knowing that their missing youngster has been found alive and safe. Joshua J.J. Rowland was found this morning about 24 hours after he was reported missing. The sheriff says he wandered away from home while a parent was sleeping. After a night of panic, a volunteer searcher found J.J. today in the woods near his home.
Santa Fe College is helping connect job seekers with North Central Florida jobs and build relationships between businesses. The Black Professionals Expo is a 3-day event providing networking opportunities for nonprofit and startup companies. This is the first year the Expo incorporated mini network events leading up to the main conference. With the recent growth in attendance, these sessions provided a broader scope of topics.
It's important for people that are coming beneath me, meaning younger than me, to see that there is power in numbers and there's power in networking together.
Saturday will feature the 5th Black Professionals Leadership Conference starting at 9 a.m.
Coming up at First at 5, today marks 1 year since Russian forces pushed their way into Ukraine. It's also been 1 year since Ukrainians, by the thousands, fled their homes in search of safety.
We bring you the latest on this humanitarian crisis when we return.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Today marks a year since Russian tanks rolled into Ukraine. Missiles rained down on cities and families fled to the west, to the border with Poland.
NBC's Dre Gray was there a year ago on February 24th and is back along the Poland-Ukraine border with the latest on the situation there.
Well, for a full year now, refugees have been pouring across the border from Ukraine into Poland, and nowhere has it been busier than here, the Medyka crossing. In the last year, more than 1 million refugees have come through these gates and into Poland. Of course, some moving on further into Europe, even over to the U.S. And the stream continues, not nearly as intense as it was at the beginning of the war, but still, overall, 20,000 or more a day leave Ukraine and move into Poland. But understand, these borders are a revolving door now. So you've got the families coming in looking for shelter, looking for safety, but you've also got people going back to Ukraine with much needed supplies, and of course some of them joining the fight along the front lines. There is concern that the number of refugees will continue to grow, that this humanitarian crisis will continue to expand, especially if, like most military analysts believe, the fighting intensifies over the next several months. So we'll get into the spring, and that'll make ground war easier for the troops to move, the tanks to get in and out, and so that's going to escalate things. And so they do expect to see more people moving into Poland. The problem for so many of the towns, the villages, even the major cities like the capital city of Warsaw, is that they've reached their limit in a sense. There's just nowhere else for refugees to go. It's been a burden on the budget, obviously, on city and social services, and so they've been reaching out to neighbors here in Europe, to the U.S. to try and ease that burden, and the response has been positive. But again, even a year into all of this, it's still very new and very rapidly changing at times. Again, it would appear that this humanitarian crisis that starts at the border is going to continue to expand as the war does the same. That's the latest right now from here at the Medyka border crossing in Poland. I'm Jay Gray. Back to you.
Francis, I have been loving this warmer weather that we've been having this week, and before we know it, there's going to be time for lemonade stands and ice cream cones.
I know. I'm thinking of heading to the beach myself. I've been practicing my surfer lingo in between breaks, Shawn. How's it hanging?
Well, cowabunga, Francis. If you're looking to have some fun in the sun, I'm not a beetle, but here it comes. Warm temperatures this weekend and throughout next week. Stick with us. I'll be back after the break with your full weather forecast. They say if you can't take the heat, then get out of the kitchen. But where do you go when it's this cold? Northern California, east of state capital Sacramento, blizzard conditions. Out here in north central Florida, Olaf and Frosty would be twin puddles. And I don't think they want to build a snowman out in the Golden State either. But out in the Golden State, out in California, you'll see that snow pushing east of the Nevada-California border with that low pressure system out there. Cold temperatures in California. Yesterday, Gators softball dealt with 42-degree weather during their competition against UCLA. But out here in Florida, nice and sunny, that Florida weather that we've become accustomed to, because there's a high pressure system out over the state. It would be covering up Gainesville if you could see Gainesville on my map. You got a stationary front north of that high pressure system bringing some slight showers to parts of the southeastern United States. But here in Florida, it's nice, warm, and dry, and it will remain that way heading into tonight and throughout the next week. So as you'll see tonight, the temperatures getting low, but not quite as low as we've seen recently. The low tonight is around 60 degrees. And let's take a look at those low temperatures tonight in north central Florida. The forecasted low 60 degrees for Gainesville, and there's no real outlier here in the low temperatures. But when we get to those highs, it's a little bit different. Here in the lows, 58 degrees in Crystal River, the lowest temperature in the area, pretty uniform across much of north central Florida. Now up to 61 degrees in the Villages, and the high temperatures, like I said, there's an outlier. Cedar Key, 72 degrees, the high temperature there rather. Tomorrow, 85 degrees in Gainesville, so it's not quite sweltering depending on how you look at it, but you might need some sunscreen, and it's good beach weather if you're down somewhere like Daytona where it's 82 degrees tomorrow, so get your umbrellas ready, and your sun umbrellas rather. And check out the weekend outlook. Approaching record highs on Saturday. Last year, the high temperature record for the area was set for that day. 87 degrees was the high that day, but tomorrow it's expected to be around 85 and 84 on Sunday. And if you take a look at the next 6 days, temperatures are uniform over much of north central Florida. 85 degrees the high both Saturday and Sunday, and those highs stick in the 80s over most of the week. The low temperatures in the high 50s, mid to high 60s. So it's pretty consistent, warm and dry. No real chance for rain. And back to the desk.
Thank you, Shawn. It is an exciting night for the Gator gymnastics team. Fareeha, do you know why?
I think that's because it's senior night, and it's also the last home meet for the Gators. We'll hear more about that meet and more when we come back from the break. Stay tuned.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome to sports. I'm Gabriela Vitale. We have a huge matchup in Lakeland tonight as the Hawthorne girls basketball team will be looking for a state title as they play Wildwood. Hawthorne defeated Ponce de Leon 50-45 in the Class 1A state semifinals. And tonight, Hawthorne will be going against a Wildwood team who has only one loss on the season. Tip-off for the state championship is tonight at 7. Over on the boys' side, there's 3 local teams advancing to play in regional finals tonight. In the Class 6A regional final, Gainesville takes on Ponte Verde. The Hurricanes come off a 47-42 win over Oakleaf to advance to the final. In the Class 5A regional final, Columbia faces Mainland. And in the Class 4A regional final, Santa Fe High School hosts the Villages Charter. The winners advance to the state tournament. The number 2 Florida gymnastics team takes on number 12 Kentucky tonight. Our Julianna Reichenbach is live now. Julianna, what's going on at the O-Dome?
Hey Gabby, the fans are piling in for another edition of Friday Night Pikes. This episode, Senior Night. 6 Gator senior gymnasts are competing for their last time in the O-Dome, including Rachel Bauman, Savannah Shaner, and Trinity Thomas. Thomas has had 25 perfect scores in her career. She only needs 3 more for the NCAA record. But tonight will be rare for another reason. The Gators are coming off their first SEC loss in 28 meets. Last Friday versus LSU, the Gators score took a typical road dip. Still, you have posted the 11th highest score in the nation this year, and they're still in the competition for the SEC championship. They're back against number 11 Kentucky, the only other SEC team with just 1 loss. If the Gators win, the seniors will round off their careers as SEC champions. The meet starts in about 15 minutes, and the fans continue to pile in. As you can see, for me, I too will be piling in because I got to see Trinity Thomas one last time. But for now, reporting live from the Exactech Arena, I'm Julianna Reichenbach. Back to you, Gabby.
Well, thanks, Julianna. Moving to the court, the Gators women's and men's basketball team will be in action tonight. Last night, the women's team took down Alabama 81-77 as they celebrated their senior night. There was no shortage of offense between these two teams. KK Dean's aunt had one of her best performances of the season, ending with 22 points on 5 for 7 shooting, including a 4 for 5 effort from a 3-point range. The Gators forced 20 Crimson Tide turnovers that helped the Gators' cause. Florida led by 1 point with 2 minutes left in the game as Nina Ricards completed a layup to push the lead to 3. Rashea Kyle knocked down 2 free throws with 28 seconds left to cap the night off with a Gators win. They'll conclude the regular season on Sunday when they play Missouri. The Gators men's basketball team will be in action tomorrow as they travel to Vanderbilt. Florida is looking to bounce back from its 82-74 loss to Kentucky on Wednesday. The Gators have already lost to Vanderbilt once this season, dropping the game in Gainesville 88-80. After losing Colin Castleton to injury, players like Riley Kugel have stepped up in his place. Kugel had a 17-point game against Arkansas and has scored 12+ in 5 straight games, averaging 17.2 points over that slate. Over in Nashville, tomorrow the Gators are looking to even out its conference record. It'll have to do so against a team in Vanderbilt who has won 5 of its last 6 games. Tip-off will be at 6. The number 7 Florida Gators baseball team begins its 3-game series against Cincinnati tonight. Florida is coming off a devastating loss on Wednesday after giving up a 5-run lead in the 9th inning to USF. Through 5 games this season, the underclassmen in this lineup are not looking intimidated at the college level, as freshman Cade Curlin and sophomore Jack Caglione are leading the Gators offense. Curlin is 6 for 10 with a home run, 2 doubles, and 4 RBIs, and Caglione is batting .500 on the season with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. The Gators will look to go back into the win column as right-handed pitcher Brandon Sproat will toe the rubber at 6:30.
Before we go, one last check on the weather.
This weather forecast is devoid of tomfoolery. The high pressure system over north central Florida bringing nice warm and dry warm temperatures, but dry weather. No rain expected, no snow expected like you saw in California. And the temperatures will be consistent over the next week. Here is what that will look like over the next 6 days. 85 degrees the high on both Saturday and Sunday. And those lows don't dip quite too low anyways. And back to the desk.
Thank you, Shawn. The BBC World News is up next, and the PBS NewsHour is coming up at 7.
But your Florida news is always on at WUFT.org. Have a good night.